And so we have the Mississauga Muse top 10 most important statements that were ever uttered by a Mississauga mayor or councillor in the years 2008-2009 coming up. Number 1 happened today, March 4th, 2009, when Councillor Nando Iannicca said,
"Thank you. Certainly I welcome the information. I apologize for using this little anecdote because I guess some of us maybe haven't been around too long, but I was using the following relative to the situation with regards to another federal study on transit and the Via Rail and the rail service in this city, where the federal government's come out once again and said, are we going to assess whether we put in the Windsor corridor, Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver corridor? Turns out that the first Royal Commission or major study on that was done in 1973. So 35 odd years later, let's look at it again. No need to look at it, morons, just do it. I've never read any of the studies. I've never been involved in any way, but I already know what it's going to say. It's going to say you have to double the track, because any Canadian knows that because it's been around 35 years. There's a cost to that. You have to get the rights of way, and that's what really costs money. But there's the new generation of track that allows us to do it with magnets, and it all makes sense. And we've all heard it. Never went to any of the sessions. They're all collecting data, and they want to study it again instead of just doing it. And we are the only nation on the planet with a corridor like that and all of our density, and we don't do it. My rather dramatic and overstated juxtaposition to that is Cooksville. And this is the last time I'm going to say it before I vote to freeze all development in Cooksville. All of this information has made me very hopeful, and yet it's gotten me quite ornery in the last couple of weeks because of all of the information that has come forward. You know, sometimes you need outsiders to tell you what you haven't seen for the longest while or you haven't focused on. And in the last couple of weeks, Councillor Dale and I have spent a lot of time listening to and learning from outsiders. And let me just tell you how the world looks from our perspective. I want to give you a little bit more background. I spent a session yesterday with my biggest ratepayers group, Cooksville London Park, biggest in the city, right? 2,200 homes. This is their phrase, not mine. Wish I could take credit for it. Nando, all this talk about smart growth, smart growth. You guys talk smart. You act stupid in Cooksville. Just walk to it and show us what the hell it is that you're talking about that's ever happened. Good transit, great transit. But all these themes and items that are coming forward, it's like, sound great. You certainly don't implement them in Cooksville, which is where you all, if you listen to your rhetoric, should be implementing it if you believe what you're saying. And then we expanded upon, as I say, Councillor Dale has been involved in all of this. Metrolinx comes out of nowhere. They just asked everybody in the province, what are the important linkages to you? Where should transit be going? Out of nowhere they come up and say, oh, Mississauga, you might not know it, but Dundas Highway 10, biggest priority in the province. That's fantastic. Nice to hear that from you. And what people say is irrelevant. What people do with their money is important. So about 10 days later, Bill comes along and says, you need $30 million for a parking structure in Cooksville. Wow, thanks. Isn't this great? I guess you folks see something here. There was one very poignant one that happened, and this is sort of the basis of my ire. Councillor Dale and I, apart from dealing with Downtown 21, are also involved with Future Direction Community Services. We had that session this week. The first speaker, almost on cue, a woman whom I do not know, but involved in libraries, said, you've got to explain something to me, Councillor. She was asking the wrong guy. You know, Cooksville, all this density, all these, I don't know how well you know Cooksville, Councillor, but I looked at your library, like, it's the weirdest thing. It has no straight front, it comes in from behind, it's not even at grade, and I don't know if you're aware, per square foot, it's the busiest library in the city. Really? Who knew? I had to give away my right arm to get it from a developer who accepted it because we gave him a police station on his property next door, and he gave us a favorable lease. Remarkable. The other piece, Councillor Dale, you recall, it's rare that after 20 years I hear something that's monumental. I don't know how many of you knew this. This blew my drawers off. When you consider movement in your city, this is what we learned from the Downtown 21, a great session that we had right a couple of nights ago. I was startled to learn that movement in your city related to work, transit movement, car, is 20%. I thought it was like half. Just intuitively, I think half of all people moving in cars every day are going to work or coming from work or something related to work, or on a courier doing work. It's 20%. Are you ready for this? Shopping is more. It was 22. But the biggest one of all was culture and recreation. About 20% each. It's 40%. Well, we haven't got that problem in Cooksville. We have no cultural recreation. The next thing they said, Councillor Dale, you recall, is any great city, any great downtown, you're within 500 meters of all these types of things. And I said, if you come to Cooksville, you better pack a lunch and put on walking shoes and do some marathon training, because you ain't walking there anything. And at our session, Councillor Dale, well, Councillor, you haven't got a hockey arena, you haven't seen it. You haven't got a community center. That funny library that you were criticizing, that's what I've got. Smart growth, the places to grow. This is where the people are. Why would we put services here? I want to go a step further. As I say, you caught me in an ornery mood. To be discussed further, but we were dealing with a little redevelopment, the old Cooksville site. Staff have now come forward and said, Councillor Iannicca, the Cooksville site relative to the lovely little townhouse project we want to build next door, kind of that Oakville theme live work, not sure we can give up that site yet. Why? Well, transit's coming to Highway 5 and 10. Yes, it is. Well, we need that site for sort of the transit and everything we need. I blew a gasket. I said, no, we don't need that site 2 blocks away, a kilometer away. We're going to buy a site at Highway 5 and 10. I'm going to tell you the site we're going to buy. We're going to buy the old CIBC building next to our parking lot, because I'm not going to do it on the cheap, because we're fed up with this in Cooksville. It's where the node is. That's where we'll do it. Sell the other one and take those monies, and let's build a proper facility in Cooksville. So with all of this talk, I have another one still. Planning Commission approaches me and says, Nando, time to review the Cooksville plan. Yes, it is. Councillor Iannicca, you talk about growth, redevelopment in Cooksville, because that's the only way I'm going to make Cooksville be what I want it to be. I embrace it, I accept it. But we're kind of considering Cooksville as really the downtown core. Yeah, I've been saying it for 20 years, but that's fine. So you may be looking at the same densities, fantastic. But why would I put a municipal service there? So from our perspective, and this is what I spent 2 hours with my ratepayers this week, when they heard it all, listen to the phrase, y'all talk smart growth, why do you act so stupid in Cooksville? And fed up acting stupid, but talking a big game. So what I said to them, and what I'm saying to all of you, and this is the last thing I'm going to say, I thank the mayor because she's aware of it. I know she's very much in favor of my idea for T.L. Kennedy or something similar, but I love the T.L. Kennedy idea because they have the most important thing of all. They have a big block of land. If it was an old industrial factory, I'd be talking the old industrial factory instead of the school. If that does not become the #1 priority for the city, not tomorrow, but in the 3 to 5 to 7 years where all of this other infrastructure comes forward, I will not be approving another expansion of the hospital in Cooksville, because I've had it and my residents have had it. Final point I'll leave you with, for those of you that be new to the game, learn this along this way as well. We talk about our downtown core, all the things that we want to do. I remind all of you that when we finish, not today, finish building the downtown core, Cooksville, in a somewhat larger geographic area, the ring road system, has and will have more residential units than the downtown will have. And you can't walk to a damn thing. It's an embarrassment. And I've helped perpetuate it, and I apologize to my constituents for it. It stops now. So you got all these great ideas, fantastic. No more smart talk. Let's start doing some smart things. And then we accept all of the density that keeps coming. Second, in government-assisted housing, to Councillor Mahoney here. And more to come, and I accept it. But for God's sakes, throw us a bone. Because if we believe what I'm hearing around this table, it's about time it is addressed, and I think this is our last chance to address it. So I'm fully endorsing everything you say. I've been saying it for 20 years. Just go stand at the corner of Highway 5 and 10. It's the only 24-hour animated site in the whole city. Go there at 5 o'clock in the morning, you will see people. It's just universal.
I'll be doing that.
That's there. It's about time we started recognizing that if it's doing all the things that a modern city in the 3rd millennium should be doing, it should look like, I want somebody to walk out and go to a public meeting space in Cooksville. I want you to build the additional condominiums. I accept them opposite the GO train station. It's a no-brainer. But I also hope they can walk to a swimming pool. I also hope they can walk to a place where you might throw a frisbee. Long overdue. Contrary to the tone I'm taking, I'm excited because I think it all has to come together and it can in this plan. But the recreational cultural component finally has to be addressed. Again, Madam Mayor, I'm preaching to the converted, Madam Mayor. I know you know it, and I know you've taken a leadership role on this T.L. Kennedy proposal. Madam Mayor, and you said, Nando, keep putting it together, let's follow up. We'll be following up with our friends from the school board, but at some point, we've got to commit to it. We may have to write a smallest check, because I think so much of the money will come from the project. And then we can look my constituents in the face and say, this is the smart growth we were talking about. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Mayor McCann? Yes, this is quite exciting. I think this is an opportunity for us to put transportation